Any time that you're war driving or anything else, if it's more than just the intrigue of finding out what's going on, you're after one thing, you're after data. And that data can be anything from social security numbers to credit card information to your identity information to financial information to client information to customer information. If you want to just slow down here just for a wee second, we will associate with this machine, which is quite happily giving itself up to everybody. Hi, honey, we're home. Okay, it is the family PC, the Microsoft Home family PC that has shared documents, family PC main. It's got a printer, an XP document writer on it. It's got a Lexmark that was attached to it at some point in time.
The internet, it's amazing, right? I mean, it's changed all of our lives. It's created so many more opportunities. But at the same time, it's also created opportunities for criminals. Criminals look at it the same way we do. They're like, hey, I now have access to hundreds of millions of credit cards. Yippee.
I've never seen any good statistics on what crimes are being committed, how they're being committed, and who's doing it.
I mean, there's so many dangers of the internet out there. I mean, who do you got? You got predators,
spam artists,
spammers and scammers,
romance scams,
the 419 scam,
social engineering,
all these things that are trying to rip off your money,
botnets,
distributed denial of service attack,
denial of service attacks,
spear phishing.
Imagine, if you will, just having a territory of everything, and you can do anything you want. It's like this Wild West, like this whole new world out there.
Traditionally, I guess people would think of a hacker as somebody who uses their computer to inflict damage on another computer. You know, they infiltrate somebody's network and steal stuff.
I want to know how things work, why things work, what makes them tick. Where did this get to? How did it get to? And why?
It's just blazing hot curiosity. The same thing a lot of people feel when they see a no trespassing sign. They look at it and they go, oh, no I wonder what's back there. That split second where you go, huh, I wonder what that is razor sharp with hackers. And they let their mind wander beyond that to the point where the sign becomes an invitation.
So basically, in under a minute or so, we now have the ability to potentially access any one of the 6 other computers on their network, any files, any systems in their home in under a minute. Well, minute and a half. This is a machine that's been pulled off of, you know, the Best Buy, brought home, plugged in with the wireless router, plugged in, and yeah, we've got a home computer. Sweet. So have I. I've got your home computer too.
Right now, our data is sort of flying out there and as code somewhere on an internet highway, and it's not like, okay, at home I know exactly where I've put my necklace, my checkbook, and all of that. It's not even that tangible.
There is no privacy on the internet. There's none whatsoever. If you have your picture out there, if you have your email address, if you've posted to a blog or whatever, there's no privacy.
We're driving along in, you know, somewhat rush hour traffic, and we're surfing people's PDAs, cell phones, remote devices, laptops that are turned on, and we're watching all of this stuff all using Bluetooth. We are currently monitoring 11 different devices that we would be able to actually pull services, pull information off of. For that particular one that we were following, the LG phone, we now know what the password is for their LG voice gateway. I can now access their phone voicemail.
Cyber is invisible. And if you can't see it, maybe it doesn't exist. It's just magic.
It's almost like we've created this wizard class of people that understand how computer infrastructures work, and everybody else, to them, it's magic.
But there are also, most likely, people who say, you know, that asshole in high school who put my head in the toilet and gave me a swirly, I am going to f up his credit card. His credit score is going into the toilet where my head was. So take that, motherfucker.
to a certain extent, it's a culture of misfits. It's a culture of people who never really fit in with society. I mean, some of these folks like were the nerds or the geeks in school, and to a certain extent, they were outsiders.
In the early days, phone freaks, they were mesmerized by the phone system. I mean, it was this amazing global computer. Back then, it was like a crossbar system, mechanical computers. And if you ever drove by an old phone switch, you could hear outside, it sounded like typewriters. Because of the way it was created, you could fool the mechanical systems into doing things for you, routing calls.
Now, a true phone freak to me is kind of like the modern definition of a real hacker. You look at the hacker journals, there's a strong ethic. You aren't doing this to rip people off or make money. You're doing it to explore with funny things, unusual, unexpected things that a system does.
One of the most famous phone freaks was a fellow named John Draper, and he's also known as Captain Crunch, and a lot has been written about him over the years.
I used my musical knowledge and perfect pitch to tune the oscillators up, and I had it working in about 45 minutes out of my parts, a box. It was just, we had to push 2 buttons to make the number.
John's first arrest for phone freaking was in 1972, and he had been using a blue box. This was down in the South Bay area, down in Los Gatos.
They handed out 18 indictments, and I was in everybody's phone book. Who is this guy? This guy must be the kingpin. Let's nail this guy.
So I was probably just on this side of the fence of getting in a lot of trouble, and John was just barely over it.
Once I got busted, I had to tell everybody else in jail how to do it. The cat got out of the bag. Immediately they started losing lots and lots of money.
If somebody offers you $5,000, $10,000, whatever the number is, there's going to be a number where you're going to say, oh yeah, sure, I'll make you one of those boxes. And maybe some money changed hands, and the next thing you know, the mob has this technology.
And as more and more hackers get thrown in jail, more and more opportunities for these criminals to get connected to the right kind of hackers for all this stuff happening, and now all this stuff's happening today, and that's how it all starts, I think.
The same sort of mind that makes somebody interested in solving the puzzle of the telephone network and how it all works is also the same sort of mind that makes somebody a good computer programmer, makes somebody interested in how computer operating systems work, and eventually computer networks. And so it becomes, in some ways, a much bigger playing field for them and a much richer thing, 20, 30, 40 years later.
So, in some ways I follow the rules, but in other ways I'm like, yeah, I follow the rules, but poker, yeah, I can play with them too.
Well, if you notice our badge, I made it look like an old Western Marshals badge because cyberspace is like the old Wild West. There's not a whole lot of laws governing, and you kind of do what you want, and even if there are laws, there aren't marshals out there to enforce it.
Dear sir, good day. Compliments of the day and my best wishes to you and family. I know this letter will come to you surprisingly.
A 419 scam has become sort of iconic. It's become a household word.
Which is the Nigerian penal code for scamming, 419, is basically one of those emails that you get that says,
I am the long-lost relative of General fill-in-the-blank, and when he died, he left me a large sum of money, which I can't get access to. I must find someone with a bank account to help me transfer out the money. This sort of scam that involves money transfer, this is the 419 scam.
Take out your commission and leave the rest of the money until I arrive after the transfer is complete. Sincerely, Mr. Michael Bangura.
The people that I've done stories on who've been scammed out of money have been scammed out of $1,000, a couple $100, a couple $1,000, maybe $10,000 or $25,000 at the most in some sort of mortgage scam. But there is no one that reaches the level of victimization that Janella has.
This is just our family picture with my daughter being about 12 years old, and we had a dog.
She is very giving, very loving, thinks of others first.
This is Tom's father. It looks an awful lot like Tom, but that's his father, and he never met his father. Sad.
The family's very important. My dad, his mother died when he was 3, and his father died before he was born. When his mother died, all of his brothers and sisters went to the church orphanage. Because he was deaf, they didn't want him, so he got adopted.
I kind of knew my side of the family, but I didn't know his side of the family, so I thought, well, when I go to school, I'll see what I can do. I wrote 185 pages for the family history from my husband's side of the family. It was some pretty dead ends on my husband's side of the family.
She's helped get Dad connected with the rest of the family.
That's why I went through family genealogy, etc. And so that's why it perked my interest when they said, well, this is for family inheritance, and that's why I got hooked on it. Hook, line, and sinker, you might say. I swallowed the hook.
As part of our On Your Side philosophy, we warn you about scams and ripoffs. And tonight, On Your Side investigator Anna Song has a story about the ultimate scam that built a local woman out of $400,000.
It started, as it almost always does, with an email.
So in March of '05, she gets the first email soliciting this possibility of millions of dollars. Her initial contact was from someone mentioning that she had a relative in Africa, potentially named J.B. Spears, who had died and left behind this vast amount of money. And I think what caught her eye is that the name J.B. Spears was a legitimate name as far as a blood relative.
I knew that there was a missing link in the 1920s where Otto Spears disappeared. So when this came in on my personal home address, I was kind of surprised that they got Spears.
She investigated it further. The scammers were able to provide her more proof that they were legitimate. They would send her all kinds of certificates. I think they sent her a certificate of death at one point for J.B. Spears. They sent her at least a couple of different bank notes that had the amounts written on them. And she, in turn, gave them quite a bit of personal information as well.
So now it's all about collecting people's information and figuring out who to target. Before, that wasn't the problem. It was spam everybody. Now they'll spend a lot of time figuring out how to get just to you. That's really where we're seeing the really sophisticated organized criminals. That's the direction they're going. Because it's very low signal to noise. They get just the people they want to get.
Spearphishing is when you research a specific person and use specific information from your research that convinces them that you're legitimate.
Everything that they did, step by step, was to reinforce the notion that this money actually existed and that she could access it if she just did this one more thing.
The documents, the papers that I've had, some are false, some are true, and the hard part is to try and go through and see which are false and which are true.
We've got family members that really could use the money. Our daughter was going through cancer. You know, a lot of things that money could fix.
I personally thought that a lot of her problem in this is her background as a reverend. You know, reverends have this mentality of wanting to save everybody and wanting to fix everything. And I think that played into this as well.
You've got to look at the 419 scams as fairly sophisticated these days, and it's not just a one-on-one interaction, it's a many-to-one interaction.
When we're talking to her about, okay, Mom, what's going on this week? It was like you'd need a program. Oh, well, I called Saludo and emailed this person and I talked to that person. Wait, who was this person?
She's been brought along by several different individuals, a guy by the name of O'Dare, by Christina, by Clem, by Mr. Chambers.
You could almost see that she was getting passed up to a person's supervisor further up the chain.
Who have all been coaching her and working through the entire process of being able to get this money. So it's like, I'll hand money here, I'll hand money here, I'll hand money here, I'll hand money here, and it's frightening.
She had at least 4 different ones going on at one time.
It's a very complicated, very convoluted story that they're running her through.
This is the Carl Ona Fund, and this was stamped on December the 16th, 2005.
By late 05, early 06, we had the J.B. Spears Fund coming in as well from Nigeria. From 06, 07 time period in time, we had the J.B. Spears Fund, then moved over to the Carl Ona Fund in Spain. And now you have this whole evolution of a story, which is each time it moves, and that's the thing, each time the story moves, there's payments.
We owe close to, well, if you're going to add the mortgage on the house, that I did for this scamming thing, and a second mortgage on the house, and also the credit cards. We owe close to $200,000 is what we owe. Now we paid close to $200,000 out of my pocket, you know. So that's finished, it's over with, it's done, you know, it's gone. And when you lose close to $400,000, you're sitting there going, okay, that's an awful lot to lose.
They had the house paid off. They had all the credit cards paid off. They had everything paid off. He wanted to go on trips and visit his brother and sister. Now they can't do that. Now they have a mortgage on the house again. Now the credit card bills are piling up. Now they have creditors knocking on their door.
News. What? You have to pay $244 for telephone bill.
Well, I didn't pay last month.
Well, last month it's $362.
$362. I know. I didn't pay last month.
3 months ago, $1,000.
I know it's better.
I know that she needs help. She has no income now, and I don't know how she's going to get by. I don't know if she's going to keep her house or keep her car. I don't know how they're going to make it.
So people are getting online so fast that there's not much that we can do, and it's creating this huge base of people that are targets. Either their computers, their finances, you know, they're doing banking and all this stuff, which isn't inherently a problem, but then they get an email that would be fishy to someone that's been online for a while. Because they're new to it, they fall for it.
You know, you have to assume that organizations like organized crime are taking advantage of the internet just like the scammers are, just like the government is, and just like ordinary citizens are.
I truly believe government has a responsibility to set some minimum standards. You got to drive on the right side of the road. You got to have airbags. You got to have brakes. You know, there's got to be some minimum standards because the ramifications are too serious today.
Yeah, but that's never going to happen. I mean, you can have those theoretical discussions, but that's never going to happen. You're going to have, what, a license that allows you to get onto a computer? It's not going to happen.
There's no cop who, if you're in California and somebody from Russia steals your credit card, what are you going to do? Who are you going to call?
When you're working and you're doing work on computer security, you have the ability to do good. You have the ability, obviously, to take the information you have gained and do bad with it. I will have to admit, I still will go there and do it for the devilment of it. I will not cross the line. I think the difference is now is I know where that line is. It's one of those things where, you know, here's authority, and authority could be a rule, a regulation, or a person. A lot of people will go up this size of authority but won't touch it. Years and years ago, I just used to go blow past it and here we go and have some fun and to hell in a handbasket with the consequences. Nowadays, most of the time I'm like, poke, poke, poke. How far can you push it without really pushing over the line? A lot of people have no clue what I do. What do you do, huh? I chase bad guys for a living and then just leave it at that.
Scams and ripoffs, and tonight, On Your Side investigator Anna Song has a story about the ultimate scam that built a local woman out of $400,000.
It started, as it almost always does, with an email.
It drives me bloody nuts that somebody's gotten to her that badly and that she's still funding the guys over there.
Hello?
Jan?
Yes?
Jan, hi, it's Chris Roberts. How are you?
Oh, good. Yeah, I was on the line with a bill collector.
Oh, got you. I apologize. Do you have a couple of minutes just to go through some of the stuff?
Yeah.
I think Janella needs several things. I mean, she obviously needs to be confronted with the truth of the matter from a very matter-of-fact standpoint. Here is where you think the money is. Here is the physical location. It's not where the money is. Here is the individual you think you're dealing with. Here is what really is happening. Here's the fake bank site that you've been dealing with for the last year and sent $47,500 to. Here's reality.
Mr. Joseph Odeh, Oda, he said it's illegal to send the money from Nigeria to America, and so he said we have to go through another bank, so he said it has to go through a Spanish bank. So then I pull up the website, and there's a tracking number, and there's how much money is in there. It's right there. Pending, debit on hold, 122 minus $35. So this is very good news. very good news that we probably will finally get the money out of Spain.
I had a little bit of fun with the Spanish website last night just to see what was going on with it. If we go back and say, wow, okay, it's a large bank, it's a multi-billion-dollar bank, they're probably going to have a fairly nice website. If you come around and take a look at this, their website is flat. It has one HTML folder with every single thing sat in it. That's the $100 billion company's website. I don't think so. I mean, it just doesn't even make any common sense at that point in time. From a technical standpoint, and that's the difference. And again, is Janella going to have access to that? No.
Phishing attacks are one of the most prevalent attacks on the web today.
You create a dummy site. It looks like Citibank, but it's not Citibank, and it has a space where you enter, card information, and you enter it in thinking it's Citibank, but it's really CITY Bank or something like that. And you press enter, and all your information gets sent to whoever controls CITY Bank.
It's trying to get her to understand that these guys are not who they say they are.
When we were talking back and forth on the computer, he realizes that what I have is a very complicated situation. It's worse than a spider web, you might say.
All right, so how many guys have you had call over the last, since last night then? You had...
Yeah, I had Ngawa call me this morning. I had Ken Morgan call me last night at 2:30, and I had Obi call me, God only knows when. I didn't look. I was asleep. Well, the reason why I couldn't stop, you might say, is because I have a husband who's trying to tell me that I need to get the money back. And so, because of his feelings, and because of his bitterness, and because of his reaction to me, these are the things that have kept me going. He said, you've told me, and he said, I'm afraid to trust you. Trust is very important. Trust is very important, and we need to trust each other, and that's why I've been open. That's why I've been open and talking to you about what's going on. I'm not hiding anything from you. He said, you've hidden some things from me. He said, you promised to sign my name that you're not going to pay any more to Africa. I wasn't trying to hide things from you. I was trying to get it solved and trying to get the money refunded back. He said, you didn't ask me. You didn't get my permission to use my credit card. He said, I saw it when I got my bill. And he said, I was pretty upset with you. And blew up. He said, it's all your fault. Everything's your fault.
She's sending money over to criminals. End of story. No matter which way you look at it, that's not legal. You kind of get fed up of being on the defensive. It's like, it's time to actually go on the offensive a little bit. You sit and you look at somebody and you go, you're like, wow, I wouldn't fall for that. But that's because I know what I know. That doesn't mean I wouldn't fall for some other type of scam. It's almost karma payback. It's the right thing to do. When you talk with somebody over email, you think they have an understanding as to what's happening, and you think that they realize what's going on with them. You think that they now suddenly realize that the latest email coming in is a scam, that the latest email asking for more money isn't really the truth. I think she's really starting to understand that, but honestly, it's one of those where, again, the human contact. I want to really look in her eyes and go, what do you think?
Mostly I sleep, and it's hard to sleep. I dream about it. I dream about my wife and people taking money away from her, and then I wake up and I have a hard time sleeping because it's just hard to dream about people stealing my wife's money. What do you want me to do now? Stop.
And the problem is technology advances so quickly, and the techniques in technology advances so quickly that it's very hard for law enforcement, government, lawmakers, and the like to be able to respond quickly enough to deal with the ever-changing technology landscape.
I think the internet does need vigilantes, because who polices the internet? Nobody.
I don't know of a whole lot of real-world vigilantes. I've heard a lot about it, but I'm not sure it really exists.
Yeah, there's only 3 types of people in this world. One who's been scammed and knows it, one who's been scammed and doesn't know it, and someone who hasn't been scammed yet. See, all of us that run the group are all victims. So some of the ladies in the group have lost money, and are recouping their losses too. I can't stand seeing people being hurt. I can't stand the injustice. And I think what bothers me the most is that nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to do anything about it. It starts out, of course, with your initial contact and everything with them. And then it's the getting to know you period.
Hello? Yes, fine. Who are you?
Through a series of questioning back and forth, the scammer finds out what the victim's dreams are. They become the person that you have always dreamed about. The scammers are actually masters in the psychology of the scam.
There's something we call social engineering, which is basically trying to manipulate someone with words or deeds to get them to do something they might not ordinarily do.
Social engineering is human hacking. It's getting humans to do what you want, just like hacking a computer is getting the computer to do what you want.
Just talking your way in and sounding good is the way most of these cyber crimes are actually done.
And the more specific you get, the more realistic a story it is, but it's all social engineering.
The first thing the victim usually says is, I can't believe I was so stupid. You're not stupid, you're the victim of a crime.
Human beings almost invariably end up being the weakest link in any system. But just being able to talk to a human being, and if I know about the system and I've studied my target, it's really astonishing what humans will do because they're trusting.
They're so good at what they do that it is an addiction. I mean, I don't know, I've never done drugs, I've never, can't drink, but it's an addiction.
Do you know that one of the hardest things is to break a person away from their scammer, even when they've realized it's a scammer, because they make that connection so strong?
Yes, I think I warned you. The 6'3"
Yeah,
bearded
6'3",
guy.
yeah. Okay, here's your tea. Your hot water.
Got it. You
Your hot
okay?
water.
Take your drinks.
Oh, no, my husband goes to bed early.
Right.
He gets up early and usually babysits for my daughter. And so, of course, the phone. When you sit down to eat, the phone rings.
It's one of our Nigerian friends. If it's one of our Nigerian friends, let me have a quiet word with him.
Oh, okay. I doubt it. Hello. Dr. Ngawa. Okay. I've got a friend here that wants to talk to you. That's Dr. Ngawa.
Dr. Ngawa, how are you? Pardon? This is Mr. Roberts. How are you doing? So how can we help you this evening? Or I should say this morning for you.
He's in Seattle.
I should say this morning for you.
No, he's in Seattle.
So Dr. Ngawa, whereabouts are you at the moment? Ah. You realize, of course, it's pitch black at night in Seattle at the moment. It isn't the middle of the morning. I said you realize, of course, in Seattle at the moment, it's pitch black at night, and it isn't the middle of the morning. Yes, it's nighttime. Yes. Are you still there? I think Dr. Ngawa's gone.
And I really appreciate Chris volunteering his time to help me with this. It's one of the best things that's ever happened to me, is his volunteering his time.
So what I'm going to do is, when we started to talk, I basically started a whiteboard of pretty much you in the middle here. And we'll do it up on the whiteboard because I want you and Tom to see it. You know, this is why, this is why, this is why, but I want Tom to hear a lot of this as well.
Right.
So that he can understand
Okay.
what's gone on and what the arguments and the discussions for and against are.
one of the reasons why she's continued is because she's lost so much money. She's desperate to get it back, so he will stop blaming her and he will stop pushing her away.
What I'm going to do is basically build the storyboard that they've taken you guys through. We started off with the J.B. Spears Fund, yep.
The J.B. Spears Fund started, that was the one that got us started. And with the J.B. Spears Fund, he says, how could he get our computer address?
Use the genealogy databases.
Yeah.
So they also watch the genealogy databases. So if they're watching, if they're basically pulling all of this information in, so they'll send out a whole load of messages and they'll see who responds.
They were set. They could have lived a nice retirement. You know, her husband talked about going on cruises and seeing the world. And now, you know, his idea of retirement is going to the pond to go fishing because that's all they can afford.
How's Tom? Is he okay?
I think so. Ask him. Back hurt?
Yes.
Yes. Are you all right otherwise? No.
Here's two people that, you know, lived and worked all their lives, and they're facing retirement with this incredible amount of debt.
You not pay me. I have my name and take out my money. I'm mad.
They took it out of the bank account because you and I are married. So what I like to do is forgive. We need to forgive.
I'm still mad.
I promise you, you know, I never.
Oops. You okay?
Hard to say, you know.
Yeah. Your hug.
And I do promise you.
I don't know.
But it hurts. Sure it hurts. I know.
He gets frustrated easy sometimes, and when he gets frustrated, he wants to just walk away and leave it. So sometimes I have to go after him and say, hey, no, be patient, listen, let me explain it to you so you understand.
My family want me to divorce my wife. I want divorce. Look,
Yeah, no,
I want divorce her.
right.
The doctor.
Yeah.
Problem, number one. Credit card is out of my name.
All in your name.
And problem, if I divorce her, I have to pay a lot of money. I'm broke. I'm stuck.
This whole scam thing has broken down their communication and has broken their trust. He doesn't trust her anymore, and in some points I can't blame him. It's been very painful for me to watch them go through this.
I told my wife, please don't send Africa. She promised, yes. Okay, I got my name. 1 week later, she paid $20,000. I'm angry.
Shit.
I'm very angry by my heart. To believe in the people.
Is this?
I feel like I'm going one away from her.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in the boys, stuck in boys.
When you have all these losses, you lose face, you lose money, you lose the love of your husband, you lose your job, you lose everything.
I would dream, what? Vacation, cruise boat with my wife, Patricia. Go back.
It's all gone.
I can't go on vacation of my life. I will not be live longer. No love for my wife, nothing.
He has so much visible anger over this issue toward her that it's like, I wonder how their marriage can survive this. There's clearly a lot of resentment there toward her for making the decisions that she has.
I need to go hack into something. A country would be a useful start. So it's kind of hard because on one side, you know, I'm sitting there going, you know, can I do it more? Can I do it differently? Can I explain it differently? I'm not the emotional kind of guy.
You know, it's hard to face up for and to be cheerful and to go on and to continue on with life. You know, it's not easy to say, okay, now how am I going to get him back? How are you going to win him back?
I mean, I have no clue what their dynamic is, but her and Tom are gonna have to somehow sit down and work this out. That it's happened, the chances and probability of getting anything back, some back, is extremely minimal, and that they've got to move on with their lives.
2.5 years of lies and deception, and it's not just going to go away overnight. It's not just going to be magically fixed as much as we'd like it to be.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. The state of Oregon reports that there are some $15 million every year that leave the state because of these types of Nigerian scams.
These bad guys are actually making a lot of money. There's actually a hip-hop video or a rap video that's #1 of their charts.
It's just a game. Everybody is playing now. If anybody follow me, go. My brother.
One of the things a lot of people don't realize, I mean, they see some of these scams, they see some of them coming from Asia, they see some of them coming from West Africa, and they think, well, this isn't an American problem. This is a problem that's coming to us from the outside. What they don't see is the US is by far the largest origin of these kinds of scams.
So if you have 0.1% of the people that will fall for this email and send money, and you send it to billions of people, it's good money.
You are the loser. I am the winner.
We've figured that it's probably 18 billion leaving our economy every year.
Everybody on the internet, everybody who uses this technology has to understand a little bit about what's safe, what isn't safe. Most of them just don't understand. They're just users.
You've got to learn how to use this thing. This isn't just a matter of plugging in and going these days. This is now a matter of actually, you are connecting up to something which is A, very useful, but also B, very damn dangerous. So we sat down at the computer, we removed Janella's Yahoo accounts, got rid of Trojans that were on there, got rid of viruses that are on there, got rid of a lot of advertising back-end, just monitoring software that was on there. We went through her system and closed down her IIS internet server, or FTP server. We cleaned the entire computer system up. Obviously you were part of a very large group of computers. You're part of a bot network of computers.
It's possible for a hacker to infiltrate your computer and take it over. And they can do this with thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of normal everyday computers. These herds of computers now become zombies, essentially, and people refer to them as botnets.
The nature of this thing is that you've downloaded some computer program, you ran it, and it's compromised your computer. It's available for someone to come in and control. It can come in through a program you download, or an email attachment, or a link that you click. There's all sorts of ways that it can get in there. But when you get botnets that are huge in number, they're literally weapons.
A DDoS attack, a distributed denial of service attack, is an attack that's designed to deny legitimate users access to a service of some sort.
It's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of computers from all over the world, all pointing that denial of service at one target, using their collected strength or their collected drinking straws to create this huge, massive fire hose of traffic.
You bombard them with so much network traffic that their servers can't handle it and brings their servers down.
In Los Angeles, the CEO of a communications company and 5 other individuals were charged yesterday for allegedly using denial of service attacks against their online competitors in order to reap commercial advantage.
If you have a botnet with hundreds of thousands of computers, you can sell those computers to the highest bidder, and not the hardware, but the control of the computers. And you can then commit economic crimes just like was committed to us. And so the botnets are growing because they have purpose and they're valuable.
How can you stop it? You can't stop it.
because it's coming from everywhere.
Literally, when you approach this thing now, you almost want to approach it as like the enemy. It's like, okay, I'm going to go to this website, but what else is it going to try and do to me? Is this the real website? Why does it look like it? Is it the real one? Why wouldn't it be one?
You know, I'm a regular person that has tried hard and failed. And so then Kristen teaches me that, yeah, the failure's okay to live with, but this is the explanation of the failure, and to go ahead and accept it.
We've really just restricted our access and cleaned up our system. So we've basically locked it down to a stage now where her communication is a lot more controlled. The game's over, the cash cow's gone, get lost and move on. Have a nice damn day. You take care of your grandmother.
Yes, you will.
Make sure she doesn't go on the computer very often. No emails. None of these weird people she doesn't know, okay?
Okay.
Deal. You take
Okay,
care.
I will.
All right.
Okay. God
Thank
bless
you.
you.
Thank you very much, Stella.
Yeah, thank you.
I do think that Chris was able to shine a light through all of those lies and deceptions and show both of them. And I think that's the key here. Show both of them that, look, this is what they're doing. This is how they're doing it. This is how they're pulling the wool over your eyes. They are pulling the wool over your eyes. And the light's finally clicking on.
I mean, Tom is still very, very frustrated with her, and she's gonna have to sit down and forgive herself. Tom's gonna have to sit down, forgive himself and her for this, and they're just gonna have to come to terms with the fact that this is the reality and this is life as it goes on.
We're raised in a society where if somebody does wrong to you, you can call the police. You can file charges. The police arrest them. You have a trial. Hopefully they receive justice and they go to jail, they pay the money back, whatever. In this case, you have nothing. And it's the healing that's important. Forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself for allowing this to happen to you and move on.
Hello. Hello, yes. This is Reverend Spears. And I just want to let you know I'm not doing anything with anybody, with any money, period. I've totally given up. I'm sorry. So there we go. I'm hanging him up, and actually I'm going to turn off the phone so he doesn't try and call me back. Okay, that's a scammer that called me just now. Okay. He's been pushing me off and pushing me off and pushing me off because he's angry with me. And, you know, he's got to let go. He needs to forgive.
Her saying that she wants forgiveness means that she's actually starting to let go. And I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, he shook his head yes. He said, I want to have some peace.
I know sometimes it's hard for him to vocalize his feelings because of the deafness, and you have to do a lot of reading in between the lines to understand what he's truly saying.
It's a relief. I've tried and tried to show her love.
I think their relationship is mending. I think that given time and the two of them being able to let this go and put it behind them, I think that they'll be fine. The fact that the relationship, in spite of everything, has lasted through all of this is promising.
This is very healing for Tom and I. Yeah, to finally come back to church together. He hasn't been to church, what, 6 months you haven't been to church? He decided, he said, no, about 1.5 years that he hasn't been to church because he's been trying to hurt me and try to get back at me. It means a lot to me that he came. It is starting to mend. And it's just going to take time. We can't do it really fast because we've been going through this for 3 years. It's not going to heal up really fast, but it is starting to mend.
I'm happy that it's finally over. Okay, starting to get over. That it's just so relieving. So, thank you, God, for finally answering my prayer.
Let me have my telephone, let me kiss.
My kiss? Okay. Oh boy. Yes. He said you push me. He said you're trying to get me to be a sweetheart. I love you, and I've been trying to get you as a sweetheart. We need to get healed. We need to improve.
They've stayed together through this whole thing. So I think the hope is pretty good that they'll be able to repair it and move on.
Tom says we've progressed an inch, he said. 1 inch is better than nothing. We've done some progress, that's true.
We almost have to enter a realm of talking about healthy technological paranoia, that we almost have to kind of be paranoid to function in the current internet environment as it exists.
In electronic communication, you have this separation. And in addition to that, you have anonymity on the internet. And so between those two things, the separation of human beings from the email that you're sending, whether it's a 419 phishing scam or whatever, and the fact that you're anonymous, it allows you to do things that I think you wouldn't really ever do.
In our society, as we catch up to technology and what it means to connect now, makes certain people much, much more vulnerable and then much more likely to be taken in by such scams.
Ultimately, it's up to us. We have to take the initiatives for ourselves or for our kids to do the right thing.
Don't hide. Don't change your lifestyle. Don't go off the internet because you've been frightened. Learn how to protect yourself. Learn the signs. Know how to spot a scammer. Take control of your life and take your life back.
I mean, there's a lot of people like Janella out there that are falling for this. And unfortunately, it's a lot of people that probably don't have the money to lose.